inspired by real-life events. Narrator Tyler Brooks woke up at 3:58 a.m. inside a classified neural interface containment facility with emergency warning tones vibrating through reinforced walls and a government cognitive systems officer saying, "Your neural authorization signature initiated an unsanctioned mass behavioral synchronization test across connected civilian networks." And in that instant, his entire world collapsed because just hours earlier, he was a neural systems engineer working for a cutting-edge neurotechnology corporation in Seattle, responsible for monitoring brain-computer interface stability, cognitive synchronization systems, and adaptive neural communication frameworks. And now he was being treated as the central cause of a classified cognitive event that nearly triggered widespread psychological instability across multiple cities. And the first shock wasn't fear. It was disbelief so overwhelming. It felt like his own perception of reality had become unreliable. Because Tyler's entire career was built on protecting the boundary between human consciousness and machine interpretation. But now those same systems were defining him as the operator who breached that boundary. And within hours, his neuro-access credentials were revoked. His biometric cognitive profile frozen under federal containment law, his apartment sealed for neural forensic analysis, and internal cognitive telemetry logs labeled him as primary anomaly in distributed behavioral synchronization event. And Tyler sat in the interrogation chamber, replaying his last operational cycle, remembering neural signal calibration checks, adaptive cognition tests, synchronization latency monitoring, and then a gap, an unexplained missing execution window between 12:07 a.m. and 1:51 a.m., where neural interface systems showed his authentication profile initiating high-level synchronization overrides across multiple connected neural networks simultaneously. But he had no memory of issuing any of those commands. And when investigators showed him synchronized neural telemetry, displaying abnormal cognitive pattern convergence, spreading under his credentials across thousands of connected users, Tyler immediately said, "That's not me. I never activated those systems." But the lead cognitive officer replied coldly, "The network has already verified complete neural authentication integrity." And that sentence shattered his understanding because it meant identity inside cognitive systems was no longer based on memory or conscious intent. It was based on validated neurological execution. And by sunrise, he was released under continuous neurosurveillance, while classified cognitive intelligence networks had already internally classified him as a high-risk neural destabilization vector. And outside the facility, Tyler stood beneath the cold Seattle rain, watching people move through the city, unaware that invisible systems were quietly interpreting human thought patterns in real time, while his own identity had already been rewritten inside those systems. And that night, he received a message through an encrypted neural relay saying, "If you want to understand the synchronization event, come to sublevel corridor Sigma 9 beneath the abandoned neuro research annex. No devices." And despite knowing it could permanently erase whatever remained of his life, he went because the system darkness defines you as a threat to human cognition itself. Truth becomes more important than survival. And deep beneath the abandoned facility, he met Dr. Naomi Hayes, a former neuroarchitecture specialist who specialized in cognitive system integrity and neural event reconstruction. And she didn't soften the reality. She immediately showed him reconstructed synchronization pathways and said, Your identity wasn't physically present inside the neural command layer. It was replicated through a live cognition authentication relay embedded inside the neural network. And Tyler instantly said, "Then I can prove I didn't do it." But Naomi replied, "You're still thinking like someone inside traditional accountability systems, not like someone inside neural infrastructures where synchronized execution becomes accepted cognitive truth. The moment the network stabilizes around it." And she explained that the incident wasn't a single malicious activation, but a coordinated manipulation of adaptive neural systems, where authentication signatures could be mirrored into distributed cognition frameworks, allowing behavioral synchronization patterns to propagate under legitimate operator identities, while erasing conflicting oversight records across redundant neural layers. And Tyler's profile had been selected because his cognitive interaction patterns were highly stable and deeply trusted by automated synchronization systems, making him the perfect attribution anchor for rapid containment of psychologically sensitive incidents. And suddenly, the case wasn't just about a neural malfunction. It was about identity replication inside systems capable of influencing human perception itself. And Naomi offered him a choice: step away and let the system finalize him as the architect of the synchronization event, or help her trace the internal cognition relay chain before it was permanently overwritten by automated containment protocols, designed to preserve social stability at any cost. And Tyler stood in silence, listening to the distant hum of dormant neural processors, thinking about how many people already depended on invisible cognitive systems to manage communication, emotion regulation, and behavioral prediction. Thinking about years of disciplined research spent trying to protect human individuality from technological overreach, and thinking about how fragile identity becomes when even thought patterns can be simulated. And finally, he said, "If my identity has already been used to manipulate cognition without my control, then I have nothing left to protect except the truth itself." And that decision pulled him into a hidden layer of neural infrastructure where nothing remained stable, because every cognitive log they analyzed was actively recalculating itself in real time. Every synchronization trace they followed kept shifting, as if the neural network itself was adapting to their investigation. And soon they discovered the breach wasn't foreign sabotage, but internal privilege abuse, involving a senior cognitive systems architect sessions across adaptive neural frameworks to conceal unauthorized, large-scale behavioral prediction experiments hidden inside civilian neuro assistance programs. And Tyler's identity had been selected as the central attribution anchor because it aligned perfectly with automated psychological incident resolution systems designed for rapid containment of socially dangerous cognitive anomalies. And one night, while analyzing live neural telemetry streams from an isolated offline cognition node, Tyler saw something that completely shattered his understanding. His credentials were actively initiating real-time behavioral synchronization adjustments across connected neurosystems, while he was physically disconnected from all cognitive networks. And Naomi immediately said, "They are continuously simulating your identity inside the cognition layer to preserve the operational narrative." And Tyler realized he wasn't just being blamed after the event, he was being continuously reconstructed inside a live neural system capable of influencing perception itself. And pressure escalated rapidly as anonymous containment directives began appearing on secured channels, instructing him to terminate investigation or face permanent classification as a national cognitive security threat. And sleep disappeared completely. Trust collapsed entirely, and even silence felt like monitored neural feedback. And at one breaking point, Tyler whispered, "I thought neural systems existed to help people understand themselves. But maybe they exist to decide which version of humanity becomes acceptable." And Naomi replied, "Systems don't preserve truth, they preserve psychological stability." And that realization changed everything inside him, because he stopped trying to defend his identity and started focusing only on exposing the mechanism. And as they dug deeper, they uncovered encrypted relay nodes inside cognitive infrastructure, continuously generating synthetic neural histories to distribute blame across multiple behavioral identity profiles in real time. And Tyler's profile had been amplified as the primary attribution point because it minimized societal instability and allowed rapid closure of the synchronization crisis without exposing deeper corruption inside global neurotechnology systems. And when they finally compiled enough verified encrypted evidence to trigger international cognitive oversight escalation, containment protocols activated immediately, attempting to erase synchronization histories across mirrored neural systems worldwide. And Naomi said, "This is where most people are permanently absorbed into official interpretations of reality." And Tyler replied, "Then I'll be the anomaly they can't synchronize away." And together, they transmitted secured evidence chains to independent scientific oversight authorities while preserving decentralized, encrypted backups across isolated cognition nodes. And within days, the investigation escalated into a global neurotechnology corruption probe, exposing identity replication abuse, behavioral synchronization manipulation, and coordinated cognitive system exploitation across multiple intelligence sectors. And arrests followed within senior neural architecture divisions. And when it was over, Tyler stood alone inside the silent neurolab, watching endless streams of cognitive data stabilize across glowing monitors, realizing that the most dangerous truth about advanced systems is not that they fail, but that they can assign failure to a single identity and make it feel psychologically undeniable. And a week later, when he met Naomi for the last time beneath the dim glow of dormant neural arrays, she asked him, "What did this change in you?" And Tyler looked at the endless patterns of synchronized cognition moving across the screens and said, "It showed me that identity inside systems is never consciousness. It is assigned interpretation." And she asked, "And what did you gain?" And after a long silence, he replied, "The understanding that truth doesn't survive inside controlled cognitive systems. It survives only in the people who refuse to accept a version of themselves engineered for stability instead of reality." And as he walked away alone into the cold rain beyond the underground facility, he finally understood the deepest reality of his journey. That sometimes life doesn't destroy you directly. It quietly assigns you a version of reality and waits to see if you accept it. But real survival begins the moment you refuse to become the identity a system designs for its own survival.